بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيد الأولين والآخرين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. فإنا نوينا التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم، والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير، ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. فيا رب لك الحمد حتى ترضى، ولك الحمد بعد الرضا، لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك سبحانك. لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. فاللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم، وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم، وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم، واجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك، ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك يا مقلب القلوب. ثبت قلوبنا على دينك، آمين. فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How's everyone? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. طيب. So we continue, inshallah. And I think the last that we read yesterday was what? وجائز بفضله وعدله ترك لكل ممكن كفعله. That's the last that we had to read yesterday. طيب. So we begin by a revision. We'll read from the beginning all together until we get there, and then we'll add the next 2 to 4 lines. طيب. أبدأ بسم الله والرحمن وبالرحيم دائم الإحسان. فالحمد لله القادم الأول الآخر الباقي بلا تحول. ثم الصلاة والسلام سرمدا على النبي خير من قد وحدا، وآله وصحبه ومن تبع سبيل دين الحق غير مبتدع. وبعد فاعلم بوجوب المعرفة من واجب لله 20 صفة. فالله موجود قديم باقي مخالف للخلق بالإطلاق، وقائم غني وواحد وحي قادر مريد عالم بكل شيء. سميع البصير والمتكلم له صفات 7 تنتظم. فقدرة إرادة سمع بصر حياة العلم كلام استمض. وجائز بفضله وعدله ترك لكل ممكن كفعله. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
بالصدق والتبليغ. بالصدق والتبليغ. بالصدق والتبليغ. والتبليغ والأمانة. والتبليغ والأمانة. بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة.
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة.
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة.
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة.
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة
وجائز وجائز في حقهم وجائز في حقهم من عرضي وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
من غير بغير 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 نقص بغير نقص بغير نقص كخفيف كخفيف المرض كخفيف المرض بغير نقص كخفيف المرض
بغير نقص كخفيف المرض
بغير نقص كخفيف المرض
بغير نقص كخفيف المرض
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة
أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة
بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
وجائز في حقهم من عرضي
بغير نقص كخفيف المرض
بغير نقص كخفيف المرض
عصمتهم عصمتهم ك كسائر 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 الملائكة عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة
عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة
عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة
عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة
واجبة واجبة وفاضلوا واجبة وفاضلوا وفاضلوا الملائكة واجبة وفاضلوا الملائكة
واجبة وفضل الملائكة
عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة
عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة
واجبة وفاضلوا الملائكة
واجبة وفضل الملائكة
والمستحيل والمستحيل ضد 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 كل ضد كل واجب ضد كل واجب والمستحيل ضد كل واجب
والمستحيل ضد كل واجب
والمستحيل ضد كل واجب
والمستحيل ضد كل واجب
فاحفظ فاحفظ لخمسين فاحفظ لخمسين لخمسين بحكم لحكم أو بحكم لخمسين بحكم بحكم واجب فاحفظ لي خمسين بحكم واجب
فاحفظ لخمسين بحكم واجب
فاحفظ لي خمسين بحكم واجب
فاحفظ لخمسين بحكم واجب
طيب, let's read the new lines from أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة all together. أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة وجائز في حقهم من عرضي بغير نقص كخفيف المرض عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة واجبة وفضل الملائكة والمستحيل ضد كل واجب فاحفظ لي خمسين بحكم واجب. طيب. Okay, so we read from the beginning for revision until where we have reached now. أبدأ بسم الله والرحمن وبالرحيم دائم الإحسان فالحمد لله القادم الأول الآخر الباقي بلا تحول ثم الصلاة والسلام سرمدا على النبي خير من قد وحدا وآله وصحبه ومن تبع سبيل دين الحق غير مبتدع وبعد فاعلم بوجوب المعرفة من واجب لله 20 صفة فالله موجود قديم باقي مخالف للخلق بالإطلاق وقائم غني وواحد وحي قادر مريد عالم بكل شيء سميع البصير والمتكلم له صفات 7 تنتظم فقدرة إرادة سمع بصر حياة العلم كلام استمر وجائز بفضله وعدله ترك لكل ممكن كفعله أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة بالصدق والتبليغ والأمانة وجائز في حقهم من عرضي بغير نقص كخفيف المرض عصمتهم كسائر الملائكة واجبة وفضل الملائكة والمستحيل ضد كل واجب فاحفظ لي 50 بحكم واجب. طيب. So بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So we've reached a new section in the poem, in that the previous section that we had been studying dealt with the divine attributes, the necessary qualities for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I mentioned yesterday that after the compilers' discussion of the prophets and messengers and what is necessary for them, he will come back to mention that just as we mentioned necessary qualities for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will mention the impossible in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And after the class yesterday, one brother came to me and he said that isn't it that there shouldn't be anything impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So I told him, don't worry, the discussion is coming and it will be very clear to you. But I will mention it here now as a forecasting of what is to come. That what we mean when we say the impossible in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is simply the last line that we read. وَالْمُسْتَحِيلُ ضِدُّ كُلِّ وَاجِبٍ. That the impossible is the opposite of every necessary. Meaning what? That we had previously sketched out 20 necessary qualities for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those 20 qualities will have opposite counterparts. Those opposite counterparts are impossible. As an example, existence is a necessary quality for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Its opposite counterpart is non-existence, and that is impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we will go down the list of 20 qualities. That is clear to everyone? طيب. There's a second discussion regarding the impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you have the question in your mind, you can ask me after the class. If you don't have the question in your mind, you don't know what I'm talking about, so I won't introduce you to a problem that you don't have. طيب. So, the author continues and he says, أَرْسَلَ أَنْبِيَا ذَوِي فَطَانَةٍ. He sent messengers possessing sharp intellect. ذَوِي فَطَانَةٍ. right? They say somebody's fatin. Somebody's fatin when they wakker. You know wakker? When they awake. You know awake? Not woke. Whoa, slow down. Yes, you do that after Isha, Mullah Khalil, all that postmodernism stuff. We don't do that here. Woke and social justice and influencers and all those things. No, we don't do that here. طيب. So, yes, fatin, when a person is fatin, it means that they have a sharp intellect. It means that they have a sharp intellect. It's a high level of intelligence uh, coupled with wittiness. What does wittiness mean? Not only that you can give like a smart retort, but your mind processes something fast enough to give a correct response. It's like sharp intellect, right? أرسل أنبياء ذوي فطانة بالصدق with صدق. What is صدق? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, truthfulness, right? And with truth, with possessing the quality of truthfulness. What tablighi? What's tablighi? Jamaat out tabligh. What's tablighi? Come on, you can't tell me then what a tablighi is. Han strives in the path of Allah for 40 days, 4 months. Tabligh simply means to convey. Tabligh simply means to convey. So who's the tablighis? The evangelists. The conveyors. The proselytizers, if you want to. The tablighis are the ones who convey. Right? In fact, the founder of the Jamaat al-Tabligh movement, Maulana Ilyas Kandehlawi or Maulana Ilyas Kandalwi, would be the uncle to Maulana Zakaria Kandehlawi, who would be the Shaykh al-Hadith. And I think most Chistis, or the Chistis, that fall in the dhikr order of Maulana Zakaria Kandalwi. Either they Chisti or Naqshbandi. I think they Chisti. Anyways, so he said that I didn't name this work, I didn't name this task the tabligh. He said, you gave it this name. If I were to give it a name, I would have given it Harakat-e-Iman, the movement of faith. Meaning what? The spreading of faith. He says, but you termed it in this way. Right? Nonetheless, that's about the word tabligh. So, they convey. Wal amana and truth. Wal amana and truth. Meaning, not truth, trustworthiness. Excuse me. Trustworthiness. Taib. So, over here, he gives us 4 qualities. 4 qualities that the messengers possess. And these are necessary qualities for the messengers, just as they are necessary qualities for the prophets. What are they? Fatana. Fatana. Right? Sharp-mindedness or sharp intellect. Sidq, truthfulness. What's truthfulness? That their speech accords to reality. Their speech accords to reality. Tabligh, conveyance. Meaning what? That they convey that which they have been instructed to convey by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning they don't conceal any part of the message. Right? And then amana, they have trustworthiness. And amana in relation to the prophets means that they are not treacherous to the message. Meaning what? They don't do anything which is contrary to the message. So can you see the difference between truthfulness and trustworthiness? You can see the difference between sidq and amana. Sidq means that their speech and what they convey accords to reality, whilst trustworthiness means that they do not perpetrate that which contradicts the message. You understand? And we will come to explain it further, insha'Allah ta'ala. Before I explain these 4 qualities of the Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, I first have to tell you what a Nabi is. I first have to tell you what a Nabi is. Then I have to tell you what a Rasul is. Ah, okay. Who knows what a Nabi is? A prophet. Who can define a prophet for us? Fifth year Duai. Who can define a prophet for us? Oh, oh, you got the book there. Almost impressed me. A free human male who receives revelation. A free human male who receives a revelation. That's a prophet. What's a messenger? A messenger is also a free human male who receives a revelation. So, what's the difference between a prophet and a messenger? This is one of those, you will hear me say this. I haven't said this before, right? The scholars differ. I haven't said this since this whole class. The scholars differ, right? So, in all of the difference of opinion, you have my scholarly and expert opinion penned over there in the book, right? So, there are many ways that the scholars go in relation to this. This is not a qat'i matter. This is not a definitive matter. Nor is the definition of a prophet and a messenger uh, a matter that impacts a person's faith. You understand that? To believe in the prophets and the messengers impacts the faith. But to delineate and to determine the technical differences in definition between a prophet and a messenger does not impact a person's faith. For so long as the person establishes that Allah sent messengers and Allah sent prophets. Make sense? طيب. So what is the point of belief? The point of belief is that Allah sent messengers and Allah sent prophets. So over here, our author says what? The difference is that the messenger is charged to convey new law, whilst the prophet follows and conveys a previous law. Make sense? So the messenger he comes with a message. He's got the Sharia. Or he doesn't have a separate Sharia. He abrogates certain sections of a previous Sharia, though he doesn't come with his own book. That could also be the case. You understand? But the point is that the messenger is charged to convey, whilst the prophet is not charged to convey. What do we mean by charged to convey? You can understand this as given a new law and not given a new law. You understand? And so you'll find that the common understanding regarding prophets and messengers is that there are more prophets than there are messengers. There are more prophets than there are messengers. This is something that's almost, I wouldn't even say almost, I would just say unanimously agreed upon by scholars. That there are more prophets than messengers. How many prophets and how many messengers? Who knows? Oh, 125,000. Where did you get 125? 124. There's no number. Why is there no number? There's no number because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that وَرُسُلًا قَدْ قَصَصْنَاهُمْ عَلَيْكَ وَرُسُلًا لَمْ نَقْصُصْهُمْ عَلَيْكَ. That they are messengers of whom we have informed you, and there are others that we have not informed you. So, when we say approximately 124,000, even that approximation is problematic. Why is it problematic? Because by this approximation, we have specified a number. And when you specify a number, you put yourself in the position to be able to, oh my God, why am I having all these discussions with you? I'm so sorry. Taib, I will complete this thought. You put yourself in a position to do what? To exclude messengers that are included in the number, meaning that there's actually more than that number, so you've excluded messengers that there is. Or your number is too much, so you've included messengers that there is not. So when Allah tells us that there are those whom we have informed you, and there are those of whom we have not informed you, that immediately tells us that we are not in a position to specify a number. Make sense? So we just say that we believe in all the messengers that Allah sent. There are some whom we know, and there are some whom we don't know. You understand? As for that number, it is reliant upon a narration which cannot be used for the purpose of what we are trying to prove. Make sense? And you know by now, because of your seasonedness in the Islamic religion or in the Islamic way of life, that there is something called isnad, chains of narration. And these chains of narration are of different levels of strength and veracity. And this report is not of such a level as can be depended upon. Understand? طيب. And so is many of the narrations in relation to the prophets. We call them Israeliyat, right? The reports of the Israelites. And the ruling regarding them on the tongue of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be لا نكذب ولا نصدق. We don't belie those narrations, nor do we affirm them. What does that mean? That means that what we find thereof, what we find in the scripture from before, which accords to the evidences, we accept it. We don't establish it, we accept it. We find it usable. And that which we find in the previous scriptures that contradicts the evidences, then we reject it. Make sense? طيب. Or we set it aside. We set it aside. طيب. Okay. So now you know the difference between a prophet and a messenger. Like I said, this is an easy definition for you to understand. It's a free human male who receives the revelation. If he's ordered, if he has revelation, if he enforces a law, he's a messenger. If he doesn't enforce a law but he merely practices the law, then he's a prophet. Make sense? طيب. Allah says subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is necessary for you will find if you read this book that I continue to use this word, the morally responsible person, meaning like the mukallaf person, has to believe in all the messengers. Says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه والمؤمنون. That the messenger believes in that which has been revealed to him from his Lord, and so do the believers. كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله. All of them believe in Allah and His angels and His books and His messengers. لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله. We distinguish not between any of His messengers, meaning the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقالوا, and they say, سمعنا, we hear, وأطعنا, and we obey. غفرانك, we seek your forgiveness. ربنا, our Lord, وإليك المصير, and to you is the return. Now, so Allah informs us here of the necessary nature of believing in the prophets. طيب. So let us get to the qualities. The first quality that the author mentions over here is intelligence. Intelligence. Intelligence means that, number one, like I said, they have sharp-mindedness. This means that they have the ability to make the proofs clear. They have the ability to make the proofs clear. That's the one thing. So you won't find a prophet that is unable to make the proofs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clear. Make sense? So a prophet will have some level of eloquence. He will have a level of intelligence. Does the prophet have to have the most knowledge of his time? Does he have to have the most knowledge of his time? No. You know that from the story of Khidr and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. But he will certainly not be defeated in debate. He will not be defeated in debate. So the Prophet, number one, has the capacity, sharp-mindedness, fatana, has the capacity to make the message poignantly clear, clear beyond doubt. And at the same time, he has the capacity to defend the message such that he will not be defeated in a debate. He will not be defeated in a debate. Naam. And sometimes a person might hold with them the truth, but they don't have the capacity to defend the truth. So they are defeated, though they have with them the truth. Isn't that so? That happens all the time. Where's Mujahid? Isn't it so? Tell them. Yeah. Tell them what work you do. He's an attorney. Attorney Mujahid says that there are many of those. No, I have to say it in a better way. Many are those, many are those who have with them innocence and truth, but they have not the literary devices to protect that truth, to defend it, to establish it. Be it a lawyer or be it self representation. The prophets are not like this, and the messengers are not like this. You understand? So this means fatana, that they have sharp intellect. They don't have the capacity to be defeated. They don't have the capacity to be defeated. And you see this example in Ibrahim alayhi salam a lot, right? Allah says, وَتِلْكَ حُجَّتُنَا آتَيْنَاهَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ عَلَى قَوْمِهِ. And this is our hujjah, our proof that we granted and we gifted to Ibrahim upon his people. نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَنْ نَشَاءُ. We raise in rank whom we want to. إِنَّ رَبَّكَ حَكِيمٌ alim. Certainly your Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is all wise, all knowing. Naam. And then Allah says, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasana," instructing the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, call to the way of your Lord bil hikmah, with wisdom, wal maw'izati al hasana, and with good counsel, with good admonishment, wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan, and engage them in debate from the angle which is best. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala, whom you all know, he's got an interesting book. The book is called Al-Qistasul Mustaqim. Al-Qistasul Mustaqim. What does Al-Qistasul Mustaqim mean? The balanced weight. I think so. The balanced weight, right? The balanced weight. Qistas al-Mustaqim. So, what does Allah say in the Quran? Wazinu bil Qistas al-Mustaqim. And weigh with the balanced weight. Weigh with the correct. Because you can have you can have a weight, or you can have a scale that is tampered with, isn't it so? So in his book, Al-Qistas al-Mustaqim, he brings this verse. And he says, many a times, okay, this is now just like a side point, allow me to mention it. It's not anything like mind-breaking or noise it in the depths of Aqidah. It's just an interesting point for da'wah purposes. What does he say? And it behoves us to give a point of da'wah when we're speaking about the greatest du'at, the greatest scholars, right? So Imam al-Ghazali, what does he say? He says that, you see this verse, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasana wajadilhum billati hiya ahsan." He says that these are three separate methodologies of da'wah which each have their arena of application. Sometimes it is appropriate for you to use hikmah and some wisdom. And sometimes it is appropriate for you to use maw'izatul hasana. It's appropriate for you to use a high form of admonition. And sometimes jadilhum billati hiya ahsan. Sometimes it's appropriate for you to use mujadala, for you to use debate. So when a person reads this verse, he thinks that this is one instruction. This is not one instruction. According to Imam Ghazali in his Qistas al-Mustaqim, and he lays it out beautifully. He tells you what is the meaning of hikmah and how do you go towards Allah with hikmah and what are the arenas of application for hikmah. And then he tells you that what is maw'izatul hasana, what is the good admonition, how does one call towards Allah with good admonition, and what are the areas of application of the methodology of admonition. And then he speaks about mujadala, debate. What does it mean to engage in the divine debate? What are the areas of application in which one must debate? It is not that every instance of da'wah is an opportunity to debate. Nor is it always appropriate for you to admonish. Sometimes the admonishment, the advice, the counsel is of no avail. Rather, you have to employ wisdom, which sometimes is void of speech, but is insightful action. So Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, he takes us through like an interesting discussion regarding this verse, right? Qistas al-Mustaqim itself is a very interesting book. Inshallah, maybe one day we read it. It's a very, very interesting book, Al-Qistas al-Mustaqim. Because Al-Qistas al-Mustaqim is, Imam Ghazali has written many, many books in logic. He's got his Mi'yarul Ilm, he's got, which is the meter of knowledge. He's got Al-Mustasfa, which is his book in Usul al-Fiqh. But in the beginning of his Mustasfa, he's got an introduction there to logic. Uh, in some of his other books, he also has works on logic. But Al-Qistas al-Mustaqim, as I understand the book to be, is Quranic logic. It, Imam Ghazali constructs the rules of logic just from the verses of Quran. That's an interesting book, inshallah. I don't know if it's translated, but it's, maybe Allah will give us tawfiq to read it one day. Type, enough meandering. You know what's meandering? You have a meandering stream. Anybody did geography? Type. So, so this means intelligence. So this point is understood. To make this more clear to you, remember when Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam debated with Namrud? Okay, one brother gave me advice the last time. He said, I mustn't assume that you know the stories and stuff. Right? So there was a time when Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam debated this guy. And his name was Namrud. It's like a king figure. Right? So this king figure believes himself to be godly. So he says that I give life and I give death. No. So, but before that, Ibrahim alayhi salam, in calling towards Allah, he says, Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumit. My Lord is the one who gives life and causes death. So he says, Ana uhyi wa umit. I give life and I cause death. So what did he do? He killed one man and he set one free. Right? Those of you studying Man Kasar al-Asnam, qataltu rajulan wa taraktu rajula. You remember that? So, he says, وَكَانَ الْمَلِكُ بَلِيدًا بَلِيدًا جِدًّا. You remember that? Man Kasar al-Asnam. This is Abu al-Hasan al-Nadwi, when he relates this, he says, and the king was very stupid. He was very shallow-minded. So what did Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam do? Did he engage in further debate regarding that point? No. He moved on immediately. So this is from fatana. This is from the sharp-mindedness of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, that and the prophets in general, their debate is so on point that they don't even dwell on points that are of no avail. No sooner did Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam realize that he doesn't understand this syllogy, this argument, then he moved on to another argument that would be more clear. So what did he say? فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْتِي بِالشَّمْسِ مِنَ الْمَشْرِقِ فَأْتِ بِهَا مِنَ الْمَغْرِبِ. Okay, Allah brings the sun from the east, you bring it from the west. فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. And then the one who disbelieved was defeated and humiliated. You understand? So this is fatana. This is fatana. So may Allah grant us a portion of this. It's an exciting quality to have. I can imagine, advocate. What's your profession again? Attorney Mujahid. It's still like, how's it like in the courts? Like, طيب. So, Allah give Attorney Mujahid also a good portion of fatana, by which he will defend the truth and the truthful. Amen. Type. The next quality is truthfulness. What does it mean for them to have truthfulness? It means that what they convey accords and conforms with reality. So they don't tell lies. Basically, they don't tell lies. So Allah says in relation to this, وَصَدَقَ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. And Allah and His Messenger spoke truly, spoke truthfully. Right? So the messengers are truthful. Why? Because they are conveying from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the truth. Right? So when the messengers convey from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah creates reality, then how can what they convey contradict reality? When they are conveying from He whom Created reality. You understand? Imagine that you have an intelligent designer, right? Maybe not like, okay, you say you have intelligent designer, right? Shadley. Shadley is a designer and he's intelligent, right? I'll increase him in intelligence. Now, he doesn't forget stuff. Now he designs his book cover. He doesn't forget things, right? Now he designs his book cover. Now we ask him, look, how many pixels is this thing? I don't know. What can we ask him? What can we ask him? We ask him, look, what's the easy stuff that I know about? What's the font size of this? I tell you now, I made the main heading 18, and then I made the sub heading 13.5, and so if he's an intelligent designer and he doesn't forget, then when when I represent him, and I also have a portion of intelligence such that I don't forget, then when I convey to you what he says to me about this, it will accord to reality. Why? Because he knows what is truth by him, and I'm conveying directly from him. You understand? So the messengers are described with truthfulness. Allah. It's like the other vibe when you have like a cat walking around in the masjid. Just gives you that Eastern feel, you know. In addition to these nice couches, mashallah. Allah bless the brothers. طيب. So we continue. Too much jokes today. Allah says in Surah Yasin, هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون. When the people come to the year after, what will they say? This is what the most merciful had promised, and the messengers were truthful. So Allah establishes their truthfulness in this world, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informs us that those people who make the messengers out to be untruthful and belie them, in the year after they will be forced to establish their truthfulness. You understand? طيب. I don't know why I said that point with so much figure, but anyways, it is like that. So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cause us to be, what do you call this? Like a siddiq. Those who deem truthful that which is truthful, and those who are truthful, at the head of which is the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next quality is conveyance. This means that they teach people divine law, they guide them towards the truth, and they convey to them what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to them. Right? They convey to them what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to them. Now, why must the messengers have this quality of tabligh, of conveying? Because if they don't convey a portion of what had been revealed to them, the people will have an excuse before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not practice certain sections of the law. Isn't it so? That's why you can ask the fuqaha from Du'ay. They will tell you that in fiqh, there's something that is called jahl. Right? There's something that's called ignorance. Then you get the jahil who's ma'adhur. You get the excused ignorant. Meaning what? That because an intricacy of the law didn't reach him, and some other conditions surround him, then he is not knowing that he had to practice a certain section of the law doesn't cause him to be sinful. Make sense? For example, if a person is brought up in a town that is far away from scholarship, right? Or a person that is qaribu ahdin bil Islam, the person whose Islam is a nascent Muslim, right? They accepted Islam recently. Then they're excusable in certain sections of the law if they claim ignorance thereof. But obviously, that is not an unlimited excuse. That is a time-bound excuse. Make sense? طيب. So Allah instructs the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ya ayyuhar rasulu, balligh ma unzila ilayka min rabbik." O messenger, convey that which had been revealed upon you from the side of your Lord. وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلْ, and if you do not do so, فَمَا بَلَّغْتَ رِسَالَتَهُ, then you have not conveyed his messengers. وَاللَّهُ يَعْصِمُكَ مِنَ النَّاسِ. And Allah guarantees you protection from the people. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Certainly, Allah guides not a disbelieving people. Now, all this translation reminds me of my Darun Naeem days. Good old days of translating. وَرُسُلًا مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. And messengers we sent, meaning Allah sent, as mubashirin, bearers of glad tidings, وَمُنذِرِينَ, and warners, لِأَلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى اللَّهِ حُجَّةً, so that there be not upon Allah for the people a proof. So that the people on the day of Qiyamah don't have a proof against Allah. You see this point now? So Allah sends messengers so that the people don't have an excuse on the day of Qiyamah. Meaning what? The messenger can't convey half of the message such that the people have an excuse. Because then that would belie the claim of the Quran. You understand? طيب. Almost tempted to mention a point. No. Okay. So that's all of that. Then, trustworthiness. Trustworthiness, amana. Amana or trustworthiness means that they don't contradict the message. They don't contradict divine law, neither externally nor internally. Why? Because there are certain commands which are related to our limbs, and there are other commands that are related to our mind, and there are other commands that are related to our heart. And so the messengers don't contradict the law, neither in those things that are connected to the mind, nor the heart, nor the limbs. You understand? طيب. And this applies to okay, I don't know if you all understand this point. I'm not going to get into fiqh. So I don't know why I'm telling you I'm not going to get into it as if you just saw what I thought now. Anyways, you know how it goes. Right. So, since the prophets represent the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can't contradict the law. Here's an interesting point for you. Why can't the prophets contradict the law? Because they are a representation of the law. So, if a prophet does something, it tells you that it's permissible. So, in the mind of the person viewing the prophet, if the prophet does something, then they cannot, then they construe that thing as permissible. Make sense? So therefore, it's not possible for them to contradict the law because they represent the law. So you must understand what they do as being the law. Make sense? Now, this you can see this understanding come in the thinking of the companions. Why? Because, for example, I only have this example, man. Maaf. This is the example of how do you say the word? Coipus interruptus. Coitus. Coitus. Coitus interruptus. You know coitus interruptus? When a person is you're engaging in intercourse. Now before you reach a climax and then you desist. This is called coitus interruptus. That's the word? طيب. So there's a hadith about this. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum say, كنا ننزل كنا نعزل. We used to practice coitus. وَالْقُرْآنُ ينزل. Whilst the Quran was being revealed. What's the implication of this? The implication of this is the Quran was being revealed. The messenger was amongst us. Were this to be something that is prohibited, he would have said something. So the fact that this took place in the face of the messenger means that it's permissible. Because the messengers can't contradict law, nor can they watch a contradiction of the law. They are duty bound to convey the law. And if any perpetration is done against the law, they will immediately point it out because they're responsible to make the law clear. Make sense? طيب. Excuse me, that's the only example that came to mind, but I think it makes it quite clear, right? نعم. And Allah says, "An addu ilayya ibadallah," saying about Musa alayhi salam, "Render to me the servants of Allah." Meaning what? Deliver people to my worship. And that can only be done when they convey the law. Make sense? طيب. You know, I never actually understood this, like how this verse related to this proof. I found it in one of the commentaries and I just put it in there. But today, when I read it, I immediately understood like how it related to the thing that's actually trying to prove. طيب. Inna Allah la yuhibbul kha'inin, says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, Allah does not like traitors. Right. That's why sometimes you need to learn the book because it's not always evidently clear the relationship between the proof and the proven. Right? It's called wajhud dalala. What is the angle of establishment or the angle of proof? Type. So we come to the next. So those are the necessary qualities for the prophets. Those are the necessary qualities of the prophets. We move on to the next discussion, and the next discussion is what is possible for the prophets. What is possible for the prophets? So we said in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is possible? Tarkul likulli mumkinin kafi'lihi. To leave off any possible thing just as it is possible for him to do it. Right? We discussed that. So in relation to the messengers, he says, وَجَائِزٌ فِي حَقِّهِمْ مِنْ عَرَضِ, and possible in relation to them of non-essential qualities. بِغَيْرِ نَقْصٍ كَخَفِيفِ الْمَرَضِ, without deficiency are things like light illness. Okay, that one, this is easy and simple, right? Everyone understands it? We move on? Who said no? طيب. What does it mean? There's a word that is used here. This is one of the very few technical words that the author uses here. He uses the word arad. What's a arad? What's a arad? A pot. A what? What's a arad? That's a arad. A arad. Muhammad Ibrahim. What's a arad? A arad, we have it translated here as a non-essential quality. What does that mean? That means that there are certain things that are related to our humanness, Like what? Like eating, sleeping, becoming sick, waking up, um, falling, standing up. Arad, right? Arad means that you don't have to be in that condition, but you can be in that condition. Different to an essential quality. What's an essential quality? Intellect. If you don't have the capacity for intelligent speech, then you can't be considered a human. You're just an animal. You see that? So there are certain qualities that make you human, right? That if you don't have it at all, you're not human. But there are other qualities that are part of humanness, but you don't need to actually have it. Like what? Like sleeping, like eating. You understand? Like becoming sick. They are part of being human, but they're not essential to the definition of being human. Make sense? Huh? Okay. I've lost you. Okay. You understand, coach? Don't understand. Huh? Okay, you don't understand. It's fine. It's fine. You don't understand. You don't understand. It's fine. I will explain it to you better. That's what it means. The prophets are of high rank. So they are normal human beings, but there are certain human things that's not befitting for the prophets. These are called a'rad. The arad is a normal thing that happens to humans. But there are certain normal things that happen to humans that don't happen to prophets. Make sense? Like what? Like a normal human can have a sickness which causes people to flee from him. You understand? Like a sickness that's considered to be contagious by the people, such that nobody wants to draw close to them. A prophet can never have such a sickness. Why? Because his very function is for people to approach him. Therefore, Allah will not afflict the Prophet with certain things that normal humans can go through, but they are a deterrent. They cause people to distance themselves from the source of guidance. Make sense? So, like what? Like the Prophet will not have a lowly occupation such that people consider him to be worthless. Make sense? What about all the prophets being shepherds? They lived in agrarian societies. We look at it from we look at it at like times of modernity, post, what do you call it, industrialization. Before pre-industrialization, the world over, the economy was run by agriculture. Most thriving and prosperous societies were agrarian societies. And it makes sense that in an agrarian society, the shepherd and the one who owns a lot of cattle and land, he's a prominent man. You understand? So you might think, but all the prophets were shepherds. It's not a lowly job in an agrarian society. You understand? طيب. So the prophets will not have such an occupation that will cause people to consider them lowly, such that they will distance themselves from them. Such that they will distance themselves from them. Is this point clear? طيب. So those are some examples. Those are some examples of this point. Now, so what about the Prophet Ayub alayhi salam? Right? What about Shu'aib alayhi salam? Then remember I told you earlier about Israeliyat? Yeah. The details of their illnesses are not mentioned in the Quran. Isn't it so? Allah just mentions that he called upon Allah anni masani yasu, that harm has afflicted me. But did Allah mention the severity of that? No. Did Allah mention the nature of that? No. Where do we get that detail from? Israeliyat. Now, do these Israeliyat serve the definitive textual proofs, or do they come to contradict them? They come to contradict them. Right? Not only that, they are not established well enough to be used in the proof of the matters of faith. You understand? طيب. In order for something to be used as a proof in the matters of faith, it must be definitive in two senses. It must be definitive in terms of its narration. We must not be able to doubt the source. And the content must be poignantly clear. Make sense? طيب. And how do we know that the prophets can, they just like humans, they're not superhumans. Because the people used to complain about the prophets. What did they say? وَقَالُوا مَا لِهَذَا الرَّسُولِ يَأْكُلُ الطَّعَامَ وَيَمْشِي فِي الْأَسْوَاقِ. What's wrong with this messenger? He eats food and he walks in the marketplace. لَوْلَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْهِ مَلَكٌ. Why didn't they send him with an angel? فَيَكُونَ مَعَهُ نَذِيرًا. So that he can be a warner with him. Why are they sending us a normal man like us? No. Abasharun mithluna? Is it a man like us that we must follow? So the prophets, the first point that we want to establish in this is that the prophets, by default, are just like humans. Except in those areas of humanness that cause people to distance themselves from you. Then the prophets don't share in those qualities. You understand? So the prophets will be such humans that people are generally attracted to them. And people are generally willing to approach them in order to hear the message. You understand? You can even see this in light of Fir'aun and Musa alayhi salam. Even Musa alayhi salam, he's so attractive that even as a baby, he gets into the house of the biggest tyrant. You understand? Even as a child, he gets into the house of the biggest tyrant. So that's about the prophets. And Allah says, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا قَبْلَكَ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ إِلَّا أَنَّهُمْ لَيَأْكُلُونَ الطَّعَامِ. And we sent not before you of messengers, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, except that they ate food, وَيَمْشُونَ فِي الْأَسْوَاقِ, and they walked in the marketplaces. وَجَعَلْنَا بَعْضَهُمْ لِبَعْضٍ فِتْنَةً وَجَعَلْنَا بَعْضَكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ فِتْنَةً. And we made some of you as a trial for others. أَتَصْبِرُونَ. Will you be patient? وَكَانَ رَبُّكَ بَصِيرًا. And your Lord is ever insightful. Now, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِّن قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. And we had sent before you messengers, and we made for them wives and progeny. وَمَا كَانَ لِرَسُولٍ أَن يَأْتِيَ بِآيَةٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. And it is not befitting, it is not for a prophet to bring any sign except with the permission of Allah. The prophets don't have miracles from their own part. Their miracles are on the strength of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? The Prophet doesn't bring a miracle because he wants to bring a miracle. He brings a miracle because Allah wants him to bring a miracle. Mm. وأيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين فاستجبنا له فكشفنا ما به من ضر. And Ayub, when he called upon his Lord, and he said that difficulty or harm has afflicted me, and you are the most merciful of those who show mercy. So we responded to him, and kashafna, we removed from him uh, that which was with him of harm. وَآتَيْنَاهُ أَهْلَهُ وَمِثْلَهُ مَعَهُمْ. And we gave him his family and the like of it, meaning more or double. Rahmatan min indina, as a mercy from us. وَذِكْرَى لِلْعَابِدِينَ. And as a reminder for those who devote themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is not but a messenger. قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ. There has passed before him messengers. أَفَإِمْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقلبتم عَلَى أَعْقَابِكُمْ. Is it that if he passes away, uh, that you will turn your backs? وَمَن يَنْقَلِبَ عَلَى عَقِبَيْهِ فَلَن يَضُرَّ اللَّهَ شَيْئًا. Whoever turns their backs from the message after the passing of the messenger, they can't harm Allah in the least. نعم. وَسَيَجْزِي اللَّهُ الشَّاكِرِينَ. And Allah will reward the thankful. نعم. So those are some of the qualities of the prophets. Tomorrow we will mention the discussion of the virtue of the prophets, between the prophets and the angels, the malaika, right? And we will mention this quality called isma, infallibility, right? And then we will go on to just briefly list the importance for the prophets. The plan is tomorrow to go through all the 25 prophets and their stories, inshallah. So yeah, that's the idea. The idea is not to cover their lives in detail; it's just to mention them to you. Right? Right. I saw there was a question there. Any other question? Okay. Okay. I will answer your question with a question. Nay, I won't answer your question with a question. I will say to you that first of all, you have made a claim against a prophet. What is that claim? You have claimed that he had leprosy. Support this claim. When you support this claim, I will answer you. I didn't mention the word leprosy. I didn't mention the word leprosy. You put forth leprosy. So bring me a proof for leprosy for the prophet. Bring me an established proof that this prophet had leprosy. When you bring me that proof, then I will discuss it with you. I will resolve it. Do you understand my rhetoric? The ailment is not established by us. This ailment is not established by any proof that we can rely upon. You understand? Every proof cannot prove. That's a very important thing to understand. Every Proof to create history.